Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. The one rule aliens must never break Earth is off-limits. The sky split apart in a blinding white light, followed by an eerie silence that settled over Earth like a death shroud. It was the first sign that the invasion had begun. They arrived in colossal warships that hovered over the world's greatest cities, New York, London, Beijing, and Moscow, casting monstrous shadows over humanity. The aliens called themselves the Zelthar, tall, insectoid creatures with razor-sharp exoskeletons and glowing red eyes. They did not come in peace. Their message was clear: surrender or be annihilated. Governments scrambled to respond. Some chose diplomacy, hopping to negotiate. Others launched nuclear missiles that never reached their targets, obliterated midair by Zelthar defenses as if they were nothing more than insects crashing against a windshield. In less than 24 hours, half the world's military forces were crushed. The Zelthar took control of Earth's airwaves, broadcasting a single statement in every language. "You are weak. This planet belongs to the Zelthar Empire now." At first, humans were afraid. They cowered in their homes, hoping their new overlords would allow them to survive as slaves. But fear didn't last long because the Zelthar made a mistake, a fatal mistake. They underestimated us. It began with small acts of defiance. Guerrilla fighters emerged from the ruins, striking at the invaders before vanishing like ghosts. Scientists worked in hidden labs, developing weapons beyond anything Earth had ever seen. Ordinary people refused to bow, spreading a single message that echoed through the remnants of civilization: Earth is not yours to conquer. And then came the first victory. A ragtag group of rebels in the ruins of Paris destroyed a Zelthar warship using nothing but scavenged explosives and pure human ingenuity. The explosion lit up the night sky like a second sun. It was proof that these monsters weren't invincible. The resistance grew across every continent. Humans fought back with a fury the Zelthar couldn't comprehend. The aliens had conquered thousands of worlds before, reducing entire species to ash, but never had they encountered something like us. Something that refused to break, that only grew stronger the more it was pushed down. The Zelthar controlled our skies, but we controlled the ground. Every city became a battleground, every ruined street a death trap. The Zelthar were stronger, faster, and technologically superior, but they were missing one thing: they didn't have human willpower. We adapted. We learned. We turned their own weapons against them, and one by one their warships began to fall. The Zelthar broadcast another message, their tone no longer arrogant but uncertain. Your resistance is futile. Surrender now and we will show mercy. Humanity responded with an explosion that shattered their capital ship over Washington, D.C. Mercy? We didn't need their mercy. We only needed one thing: to remind them of the only rule aliens should never break: Earth is not yours to conquer. The Zelthar quickly realized that Earth wasn't like the countless planets they had conquered before. Other species had fallen within days, their rulers surrendering, their populations subdued. But humans were different. Their warlords did not control them, their governments did not speak for all, and their will to fight did not diminish even when faced with overwhelming destruction. The first major battle after the Paris strike happened in Tokyo. The Zelthar had built a command outpost in the ruins of Shinjuku, believing they had complete dominance over the region. They were wrong. The resistance, a mixture of former military, hackers, engineers, and civilians with nothing left to lose, struck just before dawn. They had salvaged Zelthar weapons from fallen invaders, reverse engineering them to be even deadlier in human hands. The battle was chaos. Zelthar foot soldiers, towering creatures with bladed limbs, stormed through the streets. Plasma fire burned through buildings, melting steel as humans weaved through the wreckage, dodging death with sheer desperation. A young woman, Akira Sato, led the charge. Before the invasion, she had been a software developer. Now she was a soldier, holding an alien rifle that burned red-hot as she fired into the invaders. "Push forward," she shouted, dodging a Zelthar's clawed strike and shoving an explosive device onto its exoskeleton. The creature shrieked as it detonated, black blood spraying across the pavement. Nearby, an ex-Marine named Davis launched a rocket straight into an enemy transport, sending the metal carcass crashing onto the battlefield. He laughed, sweat and soot covering his face. "We're making these bugs regret coming here," he roared. And they were. The Zelthar had expected submission. Instead, they found defiance. When dawn broke over Tokyo, the humans stood victorious. The Zelthar outpost was reduced to rubble, the invaders were dead or retreating, and the message spread across the world. Humanity was winning. But the war was far from over. High above the planet, aboard the Zelthar mothership, Supreme Commander Zoc watched the battle reports with growing unease. He had never seen a species fight like this. They were unpredictable, reckless, and suicidal in their tactics. "These creatures do not fight for survival," he murmured, mandibles clicking in thought. "They fight for vengeance." His second-in-command shifted uneasily. "They do not fear death." Zoc's red eyes gleamed. "Then we will make them fear something worse." The next phase of their invasion was about to begin, and they would show no mercy. The Zelthar escalated their assault. The time for intimidation and occupation was over. They had underestimated humanity once, but it would not happen again. At precisely 300 hours, the skis over Earth ignited. The Zelthar unleashed orbital bombardments on every major resistance stronghold: New York, Moscow, Berlin, Cairo, Johannesburg. Fire and plasma rained from above, turning entire districts into molten craters. In London, a mother shielded her child as their apartment building crumbled in the heat of an energy blast. In Mexico City, soldiers tried to hold their defensive lines, only to watch their barricades dissolve into nothing. Tokyo, the site of humanity's first major victory, was bombed into near extinction. And yet humanity endured. Beneath the ruins, in hidden bunkers and underground tunnels, the resistance regrouped. They weren't just fighting for survival anymore, they were fighting for revenge. In one such bunker beneath Washington, D.C., a group of resistance leaders gathered around a flickering holographic map. General Harris, a grizzled war veteran with a cybernetic arm salvaged from Zelthar tech, slammed his fist onto the table. "They think they can burn us out," his voice was gravel. "They think we'll roll over like some conquered species. Hell no." A woman with dark braided hair, Dr. Evelyn Carter, one of Earth's last surviving scientists, stepped forward. "We've been working on something," she said, pulling up schematics. "A countermeasure, a way to turn their technology against them." Everyone leaned in. On the screen was a device unlike anything they had seen before, reverse-engineered Zelthar energy cores fused with human ingenuity. A weapon designed to shut down the entire Zelthar fleet. "But we need time," Dr. Carter continued, "and we need a way to get this onto their mothership." Silence fell. Infiltrating an alien warship hovering in orbit was suicide. Then a voice spoke from the shadows. "I'll do it." The room turned. Standing at the entrance was a man covered in dirt and battle scars, his left eye replaced with an artificial implant scavenged from a Zelthar corpse. Commander Jack Monroe. He had been presumed dead after the fall of Lowe's Angels. Now he was back, and his expression was stone cold. "I'll take the device to their ship," he said, "and I'll make sure it detonates." General Harris exhaled, rubbing his jaw. "That's a one-way trip, son." Jack smirked. "Yeah, so was dying in this bunker." A hush fell over the room. No one wanted to admit it, but they all knew if this plan failed, humanity was finished. Dr. Carter swallowed hard. "You'll need a team." Jack nodded. "Then let's find the craziest sons of bitches left on this planet." The mission was set. They were going to board a Zelthar warship, plant the weapon, and end their entire invasion force in one decisive strike. It was impossible. It was reckless, and that's why it would work. The plan was madness. Infiltrate a Zelthar warship, plant a device that would shut down their fleet, escape if possible. Jack Monroe knew the odds. He didn't care. The Resistance handpicked 5 others to join him, each one an expert in their own way. Davis, the ex-Marine, a walking arsenal who had a personal grudge after losing his family in the first wave. Akira Sato, the hacker-turned-soldier who had already cracked Zelthar systems before. She'd be their key to bypassing security. Sergeant Cole Ramirez, explosive specialist. If something needed blowing up, he was the guy. Dr. Evelyn Carter, the scientist who designed the device. She insisted on coming, saying she wouldn't trust anyone else with the activation sequence. And Viktor Ivanov, the pilot, a former Russian fighter ace, now the best at handling anything that flew, including stolen Zelthar crafts. Together, they formed the Ghost team. The plan was simple in theory. Steal an alien dropship, use Akira to hack their systems, infiltrate the mothership, plant the device near their energy core, and escape before it detonated. In practice, it was a suicide mission. The stolen Zelthar dropship cut through the clouds, heading straight for the alien warship in low orbit. Akira's fingers flew over the hacked control panel, sending false clearance codes. "This is insane," she muttered. "They have security scans that check for life signs. The second they realize we're human, they'll—" "Not until it's too late," Jack interrupted, adjusting his stolen Zelthar armor. The ship shuddered as it entered the docking bay of the mothership. The Zelthar hadn't even raised an alarm. The infiltration was working, so far. As the ramp lowered, the team moved in fast and silent, their stolen alien rifles held tight. The docking bay was massive, twisted biomechanical structures stretching into the darkness, filled with eerie pulsating light. Davis scanned the area, clear. Jack nodded, "We move." They wove through the corridors, avoiding patrols. Akira guided them, her eyes glued to a stolen Zelthar data pad. "Energy core is 2 levels down," she whispered. "If we can plant the device there, the pulse should disable their fleet's entire neural network." Cole grinned. "Let's go ruin their day." The team descended deeper into the ship, tension thick in the air. They passed strange, twisting chambers filled with Zelthar cocoons, eggs pulsating and alive. "Jesus," Ramirez muttered. "They weren't just here to conquer us, they were going to breed." Jack clenched his jaw. They weren't just fighting for Earth's freedom. They were fighting to stop humanity from being wiped out entirely. Then an alien shriek split the air. One of the Zelthar had spotted them. Its clawed arms lashed out, its voice a screech of rage. Davis didn't hesitate. He opened fire, his plasma rifle punching holes into its exoskeleton. The creature collapsed, but the damage was done. Alarms wailed through the ship. "They know we're here," Akira shouted. Jack gritted his teeth. "Then we move faster." Heavy, pounding footsteps echoed down the corridors. The ship was waking up and the hunt was on. The Ghost team sprinted towards their target as the Zelthar swarmed to stop them. The real battle had begun. The corridors trembled as the ship roared to life. The Zelthar were coming. Jack raised his stolen plasma rifle, his eyes scanning the dark passage ahead. "Move, we're running out of time." The team sprinted forward, their boots pounding against the alien metal floor. Behind them, the shrieks of Zelthar warriors echoed through the tunnels, getting closer with every second. Akira's voice was sharp as she checked the stolen data pad. "We're close. The energy core chamber is just ahead." They rounded a corner and stopped dead in their tracks. A massive blast door blocked their path. Davis growled, "Tell me you can open this thing." Akira was already on it, fingers flying over the alien interface. "I just need a minute." Jack turned, gripping his rifle. "You don't have a minute." The first wave of Zelthar warriors appeared, skittering across the walls and ceiling. Their exoskeletons gleamed under the sickly glow of the ship's pulsating veins, their blades extended, their red eyes burning with hunger. Davis opened fire first. Blue plasma bolts tore through the air, cutting down the first 2 creatures. The rest kept coming. "Hold them off," Jack barked, raising his rifle. The corridor erupted in chaos. Sergeant Ramirez hurled a grenade, the explosion shaking the walls and sending chunks of alien flesh flying. Victor fired precise shots, taking out a warrior trying to flank them. But for every Zelthar that fell, more took their place. Akira cursed under her breath. Almost there. One of the creatures lunged, claws slashing towards Jack's throat. He barely dodged, rolling under its attack before jamming his rifle into its mouth and pulling the trigger. The alien's head exploded in a spray of black ichor. Another Zelthar tackled Davis, pinning him against the wall. Its mandibles snapped inches from his face before Dr. Carter shoved a plasma dagger into its throat. The alien let out a gurgling hiss and collapsed. "Didn't think you had that in you, Doc," Davis panted. Carter gave him a fierce look. "I've had enough of these bastards." "Doors open," Akira yelled. Jack didn't hesitate. "Inside now." The team rushed into the chamber, Akira slamming the controls to seal the blast door shut behind them. Silence fell, broken only by their ragged breathing. The energy core chamber was massive. A swirling, pulsating column of raw alien power stretched from floor to ceiling. Strange symbols flickered along the walls. The air hummed with electricity. Ramirez whistled. "Looks like the belly of the beast." Carter stepped forward, clutching the device, their only hope of stopping the invasion. She knelt, setting the device against the core's base. "This is it. Once I activate this, the countdown begins." Jack nodded. "Do it." She pressed a button. The device hummed to life, glowing with stolen Zelthar energy. A timer appeared, 5 minutes until detonation. Jack turned to the team. "We need an exit." Akira checked the data pad, her face paled. "There's no way back to the docking bay. The ship's lockdown has sealed every path." Silence, David exhaled, shaking his head. "You got to be kidding me." They were trapped, then the ship trembled. A new sound filled the chamber, a deep, rumbling growl. Jack's blood went cold. From the shadows, something massive stirred. The Zelthar had one last surprise waiting for them, and it was waking up. A low, guttural rumble filled the chamber, vibrating through the floor beneath their boots. The energy core pulsed violently, casting eerie shadows as something huge stirred in the darkness. Jack raised his rifle, his breath steady but his pulse pounding. "Tell me that's just the ship reacting to the device." Akira swallowed hard. "That's not the ship." From the far side of the chamber, the darkness moved. Something colossal unfolded from the shadows, a nightmare of twisting limbs, jagged armor, and gleaming red eyes. The Zelthar warlord. Jack had heard the rumors. The Zelthar never left their empire undefended. Every invasion fleet had a warlord, an apex predator, a living weapon that only awakened when all else failed. And now it was awake. The creature loomed over them, easily 4 times the size of a normal Zelthar soldier. Its exoskeleton was obsidian black, pulsing with glowing veins of crimson energy. Its clawed arms were longer than a man's entire body, serrated and built for slaughter. Its mouth opened, revealing rows of razor-sharp mandibles. Then it spoke. "You are nothing." The voice was not human, a deep, chittering growl laced with contempt. Jack didn't waste time on fear. He fired first. The plasma bolt slammed into the warlord's chest and did nothing. The energy dissipated across its armored carapace like water on steel. Davis muttered, "That's not good." The warlord moved faster than anything that size had a right to. It lunged, its blade-like claws slashing through the air. Jack barely dodged, rolling aside as the claws tore through solid metal like paper. Ramirez fired a grenade launcher. The explosion engulfed the warlord's torso in fire and smoke. For a split second, it seemed like they had done some damage. Then the creature stepped through the flames, completely unharmed. Akira cursed, "You've got to be kidding me." The warlord swung its arm. A shock wave of force blasted through the room, sending Jack and the others flying. Jack hit the ground hard, his ears ringing. His vision blurred as he saw Davis crash into a pillar. Victor slammed into the wall, Akira tumbling over debris. The warlord advanced. "Your world is already lost," it snarled. "Your resistance is futile." Jack gritted his teeth, his body screamed in pain, but he pushed himself up. "We're not done yet," he growled. He glanced at the timer on the device. 2 minutes left. They had to hold this thing off long enough for the pulse to fire. Victor staggered to his feet, clutching his side. "Anyone got a plan that isn't get torn apart by an angry space demon?" Ramirez wiped blood from his lip. "Yeah, we blow it the hell up." Jack's mind raced. Their weapons weren't enough. They needed more firepower. Then he saw it, the energy core itself. The warlord was standing right next to it. Jack grabbed his cal. Ramirez, you still got explosives. Always. Jack's eyes burned with determination. Then we're going to make that thing regret standing so close to a giant, unstable power source. Davis grinned through the pain. Now that's a plan. The team moved, their last stand against the deadliest monster they had ever faced, and the clock was ticking. Jack barely had time to think, only to act. The warlord charged, its clawed limbs slicing through the air like massive guillotine blades. Jack dove left, rolling just in time to avoid being split in half. The ground shook where the beast's attack landed, carving deep trenches into the alien metal floor. Ramirez, the charges! Jack bellowed as he scrambled behind a broken pillar. Ramirez, clutching his last pack of explosives, bolted toward the energy core, weaving between the debris as plasma bolts sizzled through the air. The warlord roared, eyes flaring red. Its mandibles snapped as it turned toward Ramirez, sensing the threat. Jack couldn't let it reach him. He sprang up, firing his rifle straight at the monster's face. His shots barely scratched its armor, but it got the warlord's attention, and that was all he needed. "Come on, you ugly bastard," Jack shouted, running straight at it. The warlord hesitated for a fraction of a second. That was its mistake. Davis and Victor opened fire from opposite sides, blasting into the warlord's legs. The plasma rounds did little damage, but they forced it to shift its weight. Ramirez slid to a stop at the base of the energy core, slapping the last of his explosives onto its pulsating surface. "Charges planted," Ramirez yelled. Jack didn't hesitate. He grabbed his cal and barked, "Akira now." Akira, still recovering from her fall, yanked out a hacked Zelthar control pad. Her fingers flew across the alien interface, bypassing the ship's security. The countdown on their device hit 00, 30 seconds. Then the entire ship trembled. The energy core's light flickered violently, sending out unstable pulses of energy. The warlord froze, its red eyes narrowing in confusion, and Jack saw fear in those eyes for the first time. The warlord snarled, its mandibles twitching. "What have you done?" Jack wiped blood from his mouth and grinned. "We just made sure this ship goes down with you." The warlord roared in fury, raising its arms to strike. Boom, the explosives detonated. A massive shock wave tore through the chamber, sending torrents of raw energy cascading in all directions. The warlord staggered, caught in the pulse of its own ship's unstable core. The glow in its veins flickered violently. Jack didn't wait to see what happened next. "Move," he bellowed. The team ran for their lives, racing toward the emergency hatch Akira had found in the schematics. The ship's walls rippled, alien metal warping and twisting under the stress of the collapsing energy core. Behind them, the warlord let out a horrifying, distorted scream as the energy pulsed through its body and tore it apart from the inside. Jack didn't look back. Victor reached the emergency hatch first. "This leads outside, we can." A blast of energy hit the ship, sending the entire team flying. Jack's vision blurred. The last thing he saw was Earth below, growing larger and larger as they fell toward it at terminal velocity. Then darkness. Jack's mind swam in darkness. A high-pitched ringing screamed in his ears, and his body felt like it had been shattered into 1,000 pieces. He tried to breathe, but his lungs felt like they'd been punched by a freight train. Then light, blurry at first, flickering shapes, moving voices. His head throbbed as his vision sharpened. He was lying on his back, staring at a makeshift ceiling, metal panels, emergency lighting, wires hanging loosely. The scent of burnt electronics and disinfectant filled the air. Jack groaned, forcing himself to sit up. "Easy, boss, you had one hell of a landing." Jack turned toward the voice. Davis sat nearby, a deep gash running across his forehead, his left arm strapped in a sling. He looked like hell, but he was alive. Jack blinked, alive. Memories slammed back into his mind, the mothership, the explosion, the fall. "How," Jack rasped, his throat dry as sandpaper, "how the hell did we survive?" Akira appeared next to him, her hair singed at the ends but otherwise intact. She smirked, tossing a broken Zelthar data pad onto the table beside him. "Turns out," she said, "hijacking the emergency escape pods on an exploding alien ship wasn't the worst idea I've ever had." Jack exhaled sharply, shaking his head. "Where are we?" "Resistance bunker, Southern Europe," Ramirez answered from across the room where he was wrapping a bandage around his ribs. "We were picked up after we crashed. Nearly lost Carter, but she pulled through." Jack's gaze snapped up. "Carter, where is she?" A new voice chimed in. "Right here." Dr. Evelyn Carter walked into the room, limping but standing, a nasty bruise spreading across her jaw. She looked exhausted but victorious. Jack let out a breath of relief. "You good, Doc?" Carter gave a weak smile. "I've had better days, but considering we just crippled an entire alien fleet, I'd say I'll live." Jack's stomach twisted as he realized something. "Wait, the fleet. Did it work?" Carter's smile widened. She turned to a nearby makeshift radio console and twisted the knob. A garbled voice crackled through the speakers. "Confirmed, repeat, Zelthar fleet is down. The mothership has collapsed. Enemy forces across the globe are retreating or turning feral. We have them on the run. This is our moment. Earth is fighting back." The room erupted in cheers. Jack closed his eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of everything settle in. They had done it. The Zelthar fleet was broken, their invasion force crippled. Earth had survived. But Jack knew the war wasn't over, not yet. He pushed himself to his feet, wincing as his body protested. He ignored the pain because there was still work to do. He turned to his team, what remained of them. Davis, Akira, Ramirez, Victor, Carter. They had done the impossible, but now it was time to finish the job. Jack clenched his fist. "Let's go kill the rest of these bastards." The war wasn't over, but humanity had proven one thing. Earth is not yours to conquer, and it never will be. Jack had barely caught his breath before the sirens blared. The bunker shook, sending dust cascading from the ceiling. Voices shouted orders. Something was happening. Ramirez grabbed his rifle. "Tell me we didn't just survive all that for nothing." Akira rushed to the radio console, her fingers flying across the controls. The transmission was panicked. "Multiple Zelthar strike teams inbound. They're not retreating, they're regrouping. We need reinforcements now." Jack cursed. They had crippled the fleet, but the Zelthar weren't just leaving Earth quietly. They were making a last stand. He turned to his team. "Looks like we're not done yet." Davis grinned, rolling his shoulder despite the pain. "You know, I was almost starting to miss the fight." Jack checked his weapon. "Then let's go remind these bastards whose planet this is." Jack and his team deployed to the front lines, where the Zelthar were launching one final, desperate offensive. The ruins of Rome had become a battlefield, ancient stone structures crumbling under the weight of war. Plasma bolts streaked across the sky, lighting up the darkened horizon. Zelthar war beasts howled, tearing through makeshift human barricades. The resistance was outgunned, outnumbered, but not outmatched. Jack and his team dropped into the chaos. Davis took point, unleashing devastating plasma fire cutting through alien warriors. Ramirez set up remote explosives, turning the streets into a death trap. Akira hacked into a fallen Zelthar battle mech, overriding its controls, turning the enemy's own weapon against them. The giant mechanical war machine stood, its cannons swiveling toward the Zelthar ranks. "Say hello to our new toy," Akira shouted as she unleashed hellfire. The tide shifted, but then the ground shook. A massive Zelthar warlord descended from the sky, standing atop a towering four-legged beast covered in shimmering energy armor.